music. Let's go with 90s music again today. Oh, helps if we're attached to the speaker. Hello, everybody, if anybody is here. Not yet. Okay, good. Time to wrap up in the blanket. Hello, Roslyn. How are you? Hello, everybody. Getting situated, turned on some 80s music. Trying to appear like I am organized. Hey, Elizabeth, how you doing? What's new and exciting? How's everybody doing? Hello, Tabitha, hello. How are you? I'm good. Oh, and I'm good too. Thank you, guys. Hello, Despina. I hope I'm saying your name correctly. How are you doing? Ready to paint today? I'm ready to paint. I am so in a ready to paint kind of mood. So I am looking forward to spending some time with you guys. So looking forward to this. Getting my tools. Hey Beth, how you doing? What's new and exciting? How is it going? Hey Jerry Lynn. Are those Liquitex acrylic paints? These ones are actually probably all Craft Smart and everything. I've got some Liquitex around here, but I don't use a lot of them. I do need to practice mixing heavier bodied paints with pouring medium. So that is going to be another tutorial one of these days once I learn how to do it. Hey Cindy. How this good, just making some lunch, then get to paint. Yay, that's wonderful. I may fall asleep, but nothing personal. Had a Pfizer vaccine, I'm sleeping a lot. Totally okay, totally okay. I'm glad that you're here. And if we relax you enough that you just fall right asleep, then hey, that is a win in my books. I'm totally good with that. Hey, Geraldine. It's good to see you guys. Thank you so much for coming to hang out today. We've got cats jumping up over gates trying to get in. We got all kinds of stuff going on today. A little bit of noise probably today too, but you know what? That's okay. That is life. Hey, Janice. I'm so excited, Janice, that your stuff is finally on its way to you. All right. I'm just going to pour myself a glass of Pepsi. Hello, Jill. Oh, I'm so glad that they've been helpful, Jill. That's wonderful. Oh, look at him now. LJ, what are you doing? What's up, buddy? LJ, what are you doing? You can come over. He's pretty handsome. He's a pretty super sweet cat. He's the running joke here is that I have softened all of their animals because I've turned them all into cuddlers and coming in. He stays outside a lot of the time, but he's been coming in a lot lately. It's so funny. The audio keeps repeating. Okay, is that happening to anybody else? Sometimes I do repeat my sentences, but that's hopefully... Maybe jump out and jump back in, Elizabeth, just to see if there was something wonky there. Tone goes, Despina? I hope I'm going to say that right. Hello, Kim. Hello, Barb. Hello, Sharon. Hello, Rex. Okay, yeah, Elizabeth, maybe try jumping out and come back in again to see if that does anything there. It's so good to see you guys. So it's been a little bit shoddy internet here. Hopefully it behaves itself today and we'll see how it goes. But does everybody have something to drink and some snacks? Are you nice and comfy and ready to go? I'm just pouring myself a glass of Pepsi here. I did get a very clear sign this morning that it is almost time for me to wean myself off of Pepsi. I didn't have anything. I haven't had any Pepsi since around supper time last night, and I have got one heck of a headache this morning. So hopefully this caffeine and sugar should zap that right out of me. But that's definitely a sign. I'm like, I think it might be time to wean myself off it. I'll have to just plan a couple of days where I'm okay with having a wicked headache for a couple of days. All right. So, got a drink, got snacks, got my paint tools, got my paints. Let's see if it's better now. Yeah, let's see. Okay. Have you ever thought to contact Paulo down here in the U.S. to teach a mandala workshop? I haven't. No. Jill, would you mind sending me that info through a private message so I can look at it and see? Because that would be really interesting. That would be really, really cool to look at. Okay, thank you. I know he's sitting there. It's like he was going to jump over, and then he just sat there and looked over the top for a while. It's like he has no idea what he wants to do. Everyone's looking at LG like, what are you doing, LJ? What's happening? Okay, Betty, I will do that. Good morning, Catherine. How are you? Decrease over a week. That's okay. Thanks, Janice. That's good to know. I will definitely do that. I figured it was going to be much more of a weaning off process than a cold turkey process. So I'm happy to hear that. I'm good with that. I had to turn my Wi-Fi off and turn my data on to make it work. Oh, that's really weird. That's really weird. Sorry, you guys. I don't know what's going on with that. Awesome. Thanks, Jill. I really appreciate that. Hey, Lori. Oh, there's so many people here. This is wonderful. We're going to have a good time. All right. Well, let's jump into it then, you guys. So what I want to kind of go over with you today is if you have a bunch of people that you want to make gifts for, if you wanted to create like a coaster set with all of the same design or all of the same colors, this process that I'm going to go over with you is going to work well for creating multiple pieces with the same design on it, or creating multiple pieces with different designs but using the same color scheme. This can be really helpful. I've seen a lot of artists doing this, especially when they custom mix colors. They kind of make as many projects as they can get out of those colors to use up those paints so that they don't end up like me with hundreds of these little paint pots sitting around and potentially letting everything dry out too. So, oh, and Elizabeth, you invited more people. That's so lovely. Thank you. That's awesome. Yay. Okay, so this process is going to work to, like I said, create multiple pieces with the same design. Now, they don't all have to be the same size either, right? Like if I wanted to paint one of these, maybe a pendant, and maybe a larger stone, for example, this same process is going to work with that too. So it's the idea of multiple pieces with the same design. I'll give you a couple of examples of when I've used this in the past. I had a lady and she actually ordered a bunch of small stones from me that all had like a heart in the center. So picture a stone like this, but instead of the dot, it had a heart in the middle. And I call those ones love nuggets. And then the ones with the paw prints are my paw nuggets. But when she wanted a whole bunch of them, she wanted like 15 of them. So, and it was all the same color, all the same design. So this process really helped me with that. And the other time that I used it was when I was making sets of chakra stones. So with all of the chakra colors. So it was 7 stones in each set. So what I did is I wanted to make 5 or 6 sets. So I did 5 or 6 stones of the reds, did them all at the same time, then did all of the other colors all at the same time to build up these sets. So like I said too, if you want to make gifts for people and you want to kind of repeat the same design, one of the things that is really, really tough to kind of wrap your head around, and I'm honestly still wrapping my head around it now too, is that every single piece does not have to be a completely unique design. Just the fact that you're hand painting everything is going to make each one a little unique anyways. But understanding that the same design repeated over and over again doesn't make one of them any less valuable, right? Just because it's not a 100% unique, never going to see this again, right? And, it's all of those ideas that, we have to create something completely brand new each time we do this. We don't. There's beautiful designs that I've done that I really want to go back to and revisit them and maybe try out different colors, try different color schemes, maybe put them on different things because they're going to look different on different things too. So just kind of keep that in mind. Take some of that pressure off of yourself that you don't have to be creating something completely brand new and unique all of the time. That's why I thought the coaster set is kind of a good example of that, because if I want to make, I can make 4 that are all the same, or I can make 4 that are completely different. Now, for the sake of today, I'm going to make all the same design just to kind of show you the assembly line process, okay? One of the things I really like about the assembly line process is if you have enough pieces in your assembly line, by the time you get to the end of, say, step 1 on the 5th or 6th stone, by the time you go back to stone number 1, it's usually dry and you're ready to go and add on even more. I hope that makes sense anyway. Any questions with that so far? Let me just scroll back and let's see here. Awesome. Elizabeth is the Goodwill ambassador. Totally. It's so lovely. Yeah, Sharon, you okay? Or are you just asking for the Goodwill ambassador to jump in there with you? All right, let's see. Hi, Kathy. Barb's yelling at Sharon. All right, so first thing that you want to do when you have your multiple pieces, again, it can all be different pieces. It can be all the same size, is you want to get your guidelines down first so that that is all good to go. Okay. Hi, Jan. Happy Saturday to you too. Not putting my ears in because the magnet hurts right now. Totally okay. Totally okay. Just sit and hang out with us and we'll just enjoy. We'll just relax and enjoy each other's company for today. So whatever pieces you have that you're working on, if you haven't done so already, go ahead and start adding your guidelines. Now, one thing that you will get to know very quickly about me, if you haven't figured it out already, is that I don't tend to plan out my designs for the full piece right out of the gate. I tend to work on that as I go. So what you want to do is create, to kind of help alleviate any frustrations that could come in the way there as far as design, I will add on a lot of guidelines. I might not use them all, but at least they'll be there so that I can use them for my design as things progress if I need them. So for a square coaster like this, I'm just going corner to corner to create that cross, and then I'll go back in with my compass and add in some circle guidelines. Whatever surface you're working on, just go through and start adding in your basic guidelines that you want to get started. Okay, and also remember too that when you're working on pieces, you don't have to find the exact center. Off-center mandalas can be really, really cool. Right? The reason I'm not measuring this and going in perfectly like 2 inches in and 2 inches in is because some of these mass-produced squares, like the wood squares that I'm using here, they aren't always a perfect square. So I figure if I go corner to corner, then at least I'm going to find the center of this particular piece, regardless of what the measurements are. Now, if you're doing a canvas or something, then you definitely want to, especially in larger pieces, you really want to get pretty micro with all of your measurements and everything. And then we go. Okay, let me just see here. Let me just scroll back. Look at all the hellos. Party time. I was stacking pieces to be ready to be parted. That's okay, Sharon. No worries. Barb will just keep yelling at you. It's all good. That was supposed to be hello. I love you guys. I'm so glad I get to spend the afternoon with you guys. You know some of their behavior. Yeah. Yeah, we're getting to know each other pretty well in this, aren't we? It's pretty fun though. It's pretty fun. All right, you guys. So we're going to keep doing our guidelines. Now, one thing to remember when you're doing your guidelines, if you are using anything other than a regular pencil, so I'm using a watercolor pencil crayon, if you're using a charcoal pencil, anything like that, you want to make sure that you have an eraser so that you can lightly erase some of your guidelines so that the waxiness doesn't impact the shape of your dots. Because what can sometimes happen is when I dot over one of these lines, if I haven't done a really light erasing on it, it will actually pinch in the circle where it intersects and crosses over the lines, okay? If I go sit at a desk and watch with captions, oh, there we go. Okay, that'll work, Kathy. High on Pfizer, right? People pay good money to feel like that. All right, so I'm just going to then grab my compass. So again, whatever surface you're working on here, just go through and put your guidelines in. Make sure you've got lots of options there. Now, one thing, I wonder where it is. When I am painting on something like this, what I like to do is I get a little piece of cardstock and I draw a couple perpendicular lines on it. I'll show you what I mean here. I'm just cutting this. I've got one here. I'm just going to cut it down to a bit smaller. No, you're not doing it, LJ. You've got nothing to complain about, dude. Hi. Yeah, hi. All right, so I take this little piece of cardstock. It's got a little piece of tape on it here too, but that's okay. The reason I do this is because if I put my compass on this wood or on a canvas or anything else, it's got the potential to poke a hole in there and create a little dip in there, okay? So the reason I do this is so that I can not feel bad about pressing down on my compass to really keep it steady. And I can put this right in the middle, and then I can do my lines. You can always put a piece of tape on the back as well, and it only lets you go so small, but at least it gives me the ability to not put a dip in the middle. And it's not always a big deal. I mean, like you can add a couple extra layers of paint, but I have had it where it definitely does impact it. Oh, I guess I should put some tape on the back, shouldn't I? I'm not getting up and letting you out, LJ. You might as well sit and get comfy, dude. All right, so let's roll up a little piece of tape, and I'm gonna put it on the back here, just to help keep it stable. Photo of the cardstock in the package. Unfortunately, I don't. I've taken them all out of my packaging. I actually just get them at the dollar store, though. So I just get... and it'll actually say cardstock right on the package. So sorry. Just got a new compass. Yeah, it just keeps you from having to go in there. So you can buy even just a folded up piece of paper would work too. If you have, use a stencil, that works as well. This is if you don't want to use a stencil, but there are some great stencils. I ordered these online, and they're fantastic. You can find your center and just put in your stencil there if you want to. These are fantastic. You can get them on Amazon as well with sets of some dotting tools. There's lots and lots of options to find that sort of stuff. Yeah, there's a ton of cardstock at the dollar store, so if you don't have to spend a ton of money, I buy as much as I possibly can at the dollar store. As much as I possibly can. For example, the wood panels that they have, you know, you can buy like the wood panels at Michael's and stuff instead of canvases. The only thing about the dollar store ones is they typically don't have perfect squares. They're always rectangle, but they're just as good as the ones that I've bought at Michael's, that I've found anyway. Let's see here. To dot on and put inside the pendant. Yeah, that would be cool. Need a good one. Thanks. Yeah, it was in, index cards would totally work. Anything that's just thicker than a normal piece of paper, right? Something that you can apply a little pressure to and your compass isn't going to poke a hole all the way through. I even found when I was drawing mandalas a lot in the beginning, because that's kind of where I started, that can be really helpful as well, so that you don't potentially tear any paper either. And you can start any way you want to. You can start from the widest circle and work your way in. One of the things that I would love to get my hands on eventually is, remember those old chalk compasses that we used to use in geometry class way back in the day when we had chalkboards in classrooms. I don't even know if those exist. I think it's all dry erase boards now. But I would love to get a hold of that, or make myself look at some construction stores and see if I can get myself like a really big one. A really big compass would be cool too. The stencils are a great option. They're super easy and they're super fast. And you'll really get used to them. They're very, very handy. So it drags out the process a little bit, but again, you're getting multiples done all at the same time. So you can know that you've got multiple, once you go through this process, you've got multiple pieces prepared and ready to go and ready to jump in and start painting. Sometimes even having a couple extras prepared so that if you make a mistake and you don't want to screw around with fixing it right now, you can always come back to it later and kind of put one aside and know that you still have a few that you can make without worrying. Okay, let's see. Hi, Manon. How would you use all the different stencils that you get from mandala dotting sets? So there's some really cool stuff that you can get where they actually have some of the mandala like designs in them. So the key with all of them is really finding the center, getting it in there, and finding the design that you really like. Now, I don't usually use those simply because I usually create my designs myself as I go, but one of the really cool ways that I've seen people use them is they draw on these stencil designs that like have all of the peaks and all of the different kind of components to a mandala, and they almost create an outline in tiny white dots. So that's an option too, to use it to create an outline. And then you can go in and fill in the design however you want to. So kind of almost think of when it's not just like the circles and the lines like these ones, it's almost more like coloring, right? You create the image first, you got your stencil down, and instead of going over it with a pen or a marker, you're going over it with a line of dots. So does that make sense though? Like if I had a stencil that had a whole bunch of different designs already kind of cut into it to make it look more like a drawn mandala, for example. Let me see. Like you might have a stencil that would give you some designs that would kind of create some shapes like this. You could either like draw on it and then go over it with paint markers or go over it with a fine paintbrush and create the lines, or you could go in with little tiny dots and dot on that guideline. Okay. Good question, Elizabeth. I'm just eyeballing it. I'm just creating a few different circles. They're definitely not measurements when I do them, but you totally can, right? So in a perfect world, you'd have a compass that has measurements so that you can space out your guidelines equally. That can be really, really handy if you really want to get into things like sacred geometry and sacred ratios and all of that sort of stuff, which is something that we will get into at some point. I have a course that I purchased back in October of 2019 on sacred geometry and mandalas that I just haven't made my way through yet, but I am going to start getting back into that. And then I'm going to share with you guys what I learned from that, because that's when very specific measurements are going to come in handy. So now I'm just lightly going over it with my eraser. This is a watercolor pencil crayon, so I want to make sure that there's not a lot of buildup or residue there that could impact the shape of my dots when I lay them down. It's going to make the guidelines really faint, but I find that it can definitely help with frustration from so the guidelines are still there. They're just really faint, right? But at least it's not going to impact the shape of my dots. Yeah, there's a really cool internet course company, like those online course catalog things, and it's called Center of Excellence. And they have all kinds of really, really cool courses. They've got geometry courses. They've got a lot of metaphysical kind of courses. They've got witchy kind of courses, all kinds of neat stuff. And they very, very often, if you follow their Facebook page, they very often have a lot of sales. Like, I know the course that I got, I think was normally $100 or $200, and they had a coupon where you could get a course, any of their courses for $29. So there's all kinds of cool stuff out there. Udemy is another good one. Skillshare is another good one. I think I've been thinking about putting some mandala courses on Skillshare. And here's a question for you too, guys. You know, like how people do paint parties and everything. Do you think that I should do some of those? Because I've been thinking about it, and I've been seeing some options to do that, and they would be, you know, like paid nights, but they would also have some supplies in them, like to be able to send a set of these already with the guidelines drawn on them, or and maybe little sets of paints or anything like that. So I've got a lot of research I still need to do on that, because the thing that terrifies me about that is relying on the mail to get it to people. So it would have to be one of those things that if you want this, maybe even have two price options. If you want me to send you the supplies, this is the price. If you just want to attend the class, then that's a surprise. Then that's kind of taken there. Not a surprise. I don't even know what I'm saying. But I think that could be really fun. And we would do that over Zoom, and it would be, you would actually have a completely finished project at the end of it. Like maybe learning how to do like the paw print ones and saying we're going to make a bunch of pendants or keychains or stones or coasters or whatever the case is, right? I think that could be really interesting. That could be really fun. The 2-option idea sounds good. How you doing, Nancy? It's good to see you. This is totally a party. This is totally a paint party. But I mean the kind of ones where you actually go home and you've got something finished, right? Like instead of these where we kind of get you started and then depending on what you're working on, but kind of go in with a very specific project. All right, cool. I'm going to do some more research then and see what I can find. Hello, Christy. How you doing, love? Okay, cool. Thanks, guys. I'm doing good too, Nancy. Thank you. All right, so guidelines on all of our pieces. I think it would be fun for sure. Okay, awesome, cool. I gotta look into things like a Zoom membership, because I know the free Zoom is only a certain length of time and up to a maximum number of people. So I'm gonna look into different stuff like that to see, will the supplies include wine? Perhaps it'll include a $10 gift certificate to the liquor store. Maybe that could work. I like the idea. Have done this previously. Have people sign up early to be sure they have time if they want to receive. Yeah, because that was the thing that scared me, right? Is if we leave it too close, it would almost, I think I'd want to keep it like, we're going to sign up a month in advance and registration for this class closes or 3 weeks or something to figure that out. I'd have to figure, and it might vary a little bit depending on if it's a US customer or a Canadian, depending on shipping and everything, but we can figure that out. I'll definitely do some of those. And yeah, a paint and sip, that would be cool. And I could market to all kinds of stuff like that, right? If it's a paint and drinking one, for those of us in Canada who have access to other things for recreational purposes, that could be called a paint and puff. That could be fun too. All kinds of options, right? There's so much fun stuff. All right. So thank you for that. I really appreciate that. I am going to do some digging into that and see what I can figure out and start doing some research. Yeah, I think it would have to be a certain amount of people too, because we wouldn't want to max it out and have like 60 people on a Zoom or anything, right? Because we want to be able to interact and have fun together. And so kind of have to figure out some of the sweet spots. So I might be calling on you guys to come and help me do a little bit of testing on some of those to see if we can get that figured out and kind of find that sweet spot too. Kathy Mahan runs a paint chat session on Friday afternoons. Oh, that's cool. Oh, I could also send supplies to one of my US buddies and us for ship to you. Oh, that would be a really smart. You're so smart, Jerry Lynn. That would be fantastic. Thank you. Yes, I will totally do that. And here's the thing, guys, and then we will get to painting, I promise. Because what I eventually want to do, and I think I've mentioned this to some of you, is I want to start a not-for-profit that runs paint and crafting workshops for animal trauma workers. You know, the people who just see one of the worst sides of humanity all the time. I'm talking the people who raid puppy mills and break up dog fighting rings and work in shelters and rescues and all of that. To give them something that they can do to maybe create some beauty and create some fun, or maybe create something that they could start to make to fundraise for the organizations that they work with. So I figured if I start doing some myself, it'll give me some idea to be able to say, hey, for every $40 that we raise, a person gets to kind of jump in on one of these, and then be able to potentially bring in and create like a collective of artists that do these sorts of things, right? And be able to kind of go through that and be able to say, you know, we've got 10 different artists and here's all the different workshops, and be able to coordinate that with all kinds of different kinds of expression and stuff like that. That would be kind of cool. It's like you've done this before, right? Awesome. Thanks, Nancy. I will definitely keep you guys posted. So keep an eye. If you're not already a member of the Facebook group, make sure you're a part of the Dot Mandala Addicts Facebook group, because that's what I will put that on there and see, and let you know kind of when I'm going. Okay, so I will get to doing some research on that. That's going to be still probably a good month away, but we'll see what we can get on to there. All right, so we've got our guidelines on our multiple pieces. The next thing is make sure you have your colors ready to go. So I have my rainbow colors here. You can do as many different colors as you want. There's never any rule for that kind of thing. If you want to just do 2 or 3 colors, you totally can. Or if you want to do a whole bunch, that's okay too, right? So I'm going to do my rainbow just because it makes me really happy. It's very satisfying. So this is what we're going to do. We are going to start with each piece. So this is the assembly line process, right? So we've got pieces 1, 2, 3, and 4, okay? So then what we're going to do is we are going to repeat the same dots and same color on each piece as we go through the assembly line. So I'm going to do my center dot on each one, then I'm going to do the first ring on each one and keep working my way out, okay? This is the most simple way to create multiple pieces, okay? If you want to create multiple pieces using all of the same colors, then you can still do it because you can kind of pick and choose when you want to add in colors, and it can kind of sometimes slow down how often you have to wipe off your tools, change out your paints, all of that sort of thing. But for today, for the sake of ease, we are just going to create the exact same design on all 4 pieces. So I'm going to find the size that I want to do for my center dot. And I think it's going to be, I'm using my DIY Mandala Stones tools, and I'm going to do a size 22. When I hold my tool in there, I think that looks like a good size that I'd like to start with. You can, but if you, depending on what you're working on, choose something that is going to be a good size for you and just that you like the look of there, okay? So I'm gonna go with my red. My most stressful part of any of these, doing any kind of painting, is always getting that first dot in there and making sure that it's centered. So it's always nice when you create your guidelines, if you can create one that you can kind of eyeball the distance that your tool is away from that guideline on each side to help you kind of keep it centered, because it's not an exact science. Sometimes I will make this, you can always place your tool and you can draw a circle around it if you want to help use that to help you center. But otherwise, let me just grab some paint. I kind of hover a little bit and I'm going to start to kind of apply some pressure. And it looks like it's pretty darn close to the center. And you'll find that you always kind of lean one way or another. So I find it very difficult, and I'm constantly telling myself, hold it straight up and down. But that looks pretty good. And it's close enough, right? Doesn't have to be perfect. Always remember that. So I'm going to put that one aside, and then I'm going to go in and do my center dot on this one as well. try and the kind of idea behind this is just as much a reminder for me as it is for you guys, is that, again, you don't have to create something completely unique every single time. You can create beautiful collections of items that all have the same design, but just changing up the colors. And you guys might have heard me say that when we did the color grades and the kind of gradual ombres from like the center all the way out with those spacing circles and everything. And if you have a look at Shop World Love on Instagram, you'll notice that they use the same design. Every once in a while, they might mix it up a little bit and add a few little elements in there, here and there. However, it is pretty much the same design and just switching up the colors. And they do very, very well. And all of their pieces are absolutely gorgeous. So again, don't feel like you have to create something completely unique out of the box every single time, right? Not necessary. Generally, it's dot painting. Generally, there's a theme, but sometimes we work on something of our own. That is so cool. Use a Sharpie to mark the 4 corners on your tool. Oh, Barb, are you kidding me? Oh my God, this woman is freaking brilliant. You guys are incredible. All right. That's a really cool idea. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I got my Sharpie out. I'm going to do that next time. That's brilliant. Thank you, Barb. We'll do that, and that will end up being content. I will film doing that because that's friggin' amazing. All right. So now we've got our center dots on all 4 pieces. So now I'm going to close up my red paint, and we're going to go on to the next color. And this is fun because you can still have fun trying to choose your design as you go. You still don't have to plan it all before you get started. There's lots of leeway here to still kind of run and kind of have some fun with it, right? And $70, right? We'll have to totally, you know what we need to do? We need to manufacture our own tools that come with those on it. And then there's the manufacturing right there. So here, why don't I do this? Hang on a second, Jen. I'm going to see if I can show you right now. Let's see here. I'm going to, I'm just going to grab a blank woods. Nope, that's not coming out of the package. Whoop, and I'm going to break stuff. All right, let's do it this way. I'll just show you on one of these. So, first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to show you on this little disc. So I'm just going to draw my guideline so I get my center cross. I'm not worrying about if it's perfectly in the center because that doesn't really matter on this one, just for the example. So I'm drawing my guideline, right? Making sure that it's perpendicular so I can get that center cross, right? So we've got the center cross. Now I'm going to take my tool. And I think this is what you mean. Would I need to look at it this way, or I can probably take my ruler. I'm trying to see how we would do this. You totally need to patent that, Barb. Seriously. So if I can do, and I guess it doesn't really matter, right? Because I can do it here, and as long as I mark it here, there, mark it there, mark it on the other side, right? Mark it there, and then mark it here. And then line them up that way. You totally need to mark it that, Barb. Reach out. We'll reach out to Kim at DIY Mandala Stones and say, we got this idea. How can you add this to your tools? And there you go. So then you've got your corners marked on your tool. And then you can just blip, pop her in. Does that help? Oh, right. So we need to make them longer. More like that. Dee-dee-dee. There we go. Well, we'll see if I can find myself a manufacturer that can do that. That would be really freaking cool. A hate bien? That's a whole new word, Jan. We knew what you meant, though. All right, so let's jump back in here. So now we're going to go back in. We're going to choose color number 2, which for me is orange. And I'm going to give it a stir and pick out the chunks of paint and hair that are stuck in there. And give it a little stir. We should be good there. This can be really helpful, again, just to be able to not have to be constantly switching out paint bottles and stuff, right? Yeah, that's friggin' brilliant, Barb. We're gonna have to figure something out there. Definitely gonna have to figure something out there. We have too much fun. We have way too much fun here. All right, so same as always with this stuff, we're just going to go in and we're going to start marking our times. So this is what I kind of call the clock method, right? Of just spinning it around and dotting at 12 o'clock, right? Always remembering that perfect world scenario, you want to be able to not really touch the tool down if you don't have to. Right? You want to have the paint just kind of come off and just settle on the surface. I still touch it down every once in a while, well, a lot of the time, because I haven't really noticed a difference. But when you're using ones where, using tools and paints that you want to be super puffy and really create that dimension, then this can definitely help you do that, to not have any kind of pressure in the middle. Because sometimes what can happen is if you have that pressure in the center, then what you'll end up with is almost just a little dip, or you can kind of see where that pressure was, like a little dot in the center of your paint dot. Okay. Hey, Axel, how you doing? You're painting. Yay, that's wonderful. I was going to buy a new set of dotting tools since I have the small numbers and have to take my... Yeah, totally right. We'll have to see about that. The new ones with the huge numbers, though, like, it's absolutely crazy, the difference, right? Absolutely crazy, the difference in the size of the numbers compared to... Where's my... It's not the same numbers. Oh, yeah, there's my 17 and 18. And 17 and 18 in comparison, eh? Totally different. So totally different. Yeah, I'll see what I can do, and we'll have to try and find... I don't even know where to begin to look for that sort of stuff, but we'll figure it out. We'll totally figure that out. All right, so now I'm looking at this, and I'm thinking, okay, can I fit 3 other little dots in here? I probably could, but it would be a little bit tight. So I'm just going to go for 2 dots in the middle, in the space. And this is where it might end up being a little bit different on each piece too, right? Like, and of course I could have fit 3 in there, but that's okay. We'll just keep going with 2. We'll just keep going with 2. There we go. When you have that happen, that usually means that the spacing was off just a little bit on the dots, but it's usually okay. It usually still sorts itself out, so no stress with that. I have the big ones and still can't see the numbers. Melissa's here. You're doing okay? Just taking it easy today? Oh, I'm so glad. Me too. I'm really glad that we're getting to spend some time doing some painting together today. Let me see if I can move this a little bit. I must be stressed because I can't seem to stop painting. Well, and that's okay, because once you get into it, and if it's working for you, find that the less stress you get, the less tolerance you have for stressful situations, right? So we proactively start doing the things that we love to do. That's kind of the way that it was for me. It was my stress reliever, and then it just became all I ever wanted to do, and say, hey, if I'm not stressed, life is going to be easier for me. So why not just keep painting, because I'm not stressed when I'm painting. No. And Lori, I'm really glad you mentioned that, because it doesn't have to be perfect. It can be slightly off. When you're doing your clock method, it doesn't have to be perfect. All of that stuff, okay? It will work itself out in your design, and those little tiny details will be far less noticeable. I'm going to try and get this so that we don't have as much of a glare here. Hopefully this will work. Let me know if I need to change my angle or not, you guys. So we're just going through all 4 of the pieces again, doing the same center row. Now, here is the one thing that can be difficult about doing multiple pieces with the same design, is if you thrive on being able to, you know, do different things fairly quickly, this can be monotonous, right? It can be a little bit slower mentally for you, right? It might just not be as interesting. Because at some point, you might get to the point going, oh my gosh, I'm just so tired of putting orange dots in circles. I'm just so sick of it, right? Let's see. Someone tell Krupa the Sharpie thing. I bet she would add it. That would be cool. And well, and when it's slightly off, you know, when it's way, way off, it's one thing. When it's just slightly off, it's not usually too big of a deal, right? But it's frustrating. It's still frustrating, especially when you see it. I notice that when I'm doing my pendants, because when I'm doing my pendants, if it's just even like a millimeter off, it's such a small surface anyway that a millimeter can make a big, big difference. And then I get halfway done and see that my petals aren't reaching the same spot towards the edges, and it just looks off center, and it's just so frustrating because sometimes you don't notice until you get out there. I think the larger the piece, the more kind of forgiveness there is almost with that sort of stuff, right? All right, so let's see here. I think Barb should do it herself and get all the credit. Totally. I think so. Yeah, definitely don't give it away, Barb. Barb, you should make that with the wooden dowels. You know how you were sharpening the wooden dowels? There's your tools. Just sit and make a whole bunch of sets of those, put the marks on them, and sell them. I think that would be freaking brilliant. And totally feasible. Totally doable. All right, find some way to finish the dowels so that they don't soak up the wood. I know Jessie D uses wood tools, so that's very possible, but totally should not be giving it away, Barb. Yes, definitely get a patent. Yeah. Barb, it is in your hands. If you want me to reach out to Kim, I will do that for you. Certainly not expecting anything there. But I can definitely mention it to her if you'd like. Or even just to connect you guys so that you could talk about, you know, that sort of stuff. But I agree. Well, if there's anything I can do to help you look into that. No thanks, CRA already gets enough of my money. I'm sending them yearly poop tests. It's only money. Well, we'll have to figure something out, Barb. So yeah, you might get to the point where if you have a whole bunch of pieces going, you might get to a point where you say, I am so sick of adding these orange dots right now that you get a little bit bored. So that might be the downside of doing multiple pieces all at once, but it can really come in handy, especially if you're making a bunch of gifts or you want, like I do this, and I'm planning on doing it again this year for my Christmas ornaments, right? Taking one design and just making a whole bunch of different ones, and they're all going to look slightly different just because the paint is a little different. Like even these, you know, the way that I'm placing the dots is slightly different. My hand is moving slightly differently. I'm breathing a little bit differently. May I put a link for Amelia and her stones and molds? Nothing in it for me. Absolutely. Absolutely, Elizabeth. She's fantastic. Okay, I will mention it to her, Barb, and we'll see. We'll see what happens there. And if not, there's a couple other people I can mention it to, too. Yes, Amelia is, who Elizabeth is referring to is Pisa Supply. So she is the fantastic mold maker that I got my little mini stone mold from. And she's the one who made me the letters as well in my business name, which I still have to paint. I keep forgetting about those. So much stuff that's just kind of set aside. And she's fantastic, and she's so kind. Oh, that's a really good idea. Yeah, stick it in the Facebook group, Elizabeth. That would be great. I should actually mention to Amelia that I've got the Facebook group and that she might want to join. But her molds are really, really nice and very reasonable. And again, it's nice to have a Canadian option, right? There's just not a lot of Canadian options out there for those of us up here. Thankfully, there's a lot of great creators all over the place that have amazing stuff. But it's always nice to be able to order from a local small business if you can, right? That's the DIY Mandala stones are Canadian as well. She's in BC. She's not on Facebook? Oh, that's too bad. Well, shoot her a message and just let her know. Say, get ready. Get your stock ready. People are coming shopping. The other thing to let you guys know, just while I'm finishing up this last row of orange dots before we move on to our next color, is I do have an Amazon link in my bio now. Now, I did find out from Jerry Lynn that if you are in the US and you go through my Amazon link, it does take you to Amazon Canada. So I'm going to look into how I can provide a link for US as well. But if you are in Canada and if you have any tools or supplies that you're looking to get off of Amazon, it would be awesome if you'd check out the link that I have. I would get a small cut from any products that you order through my link, but it wouldn't raise your price at all. And if there's anything that's not listed in there that you want me to add, I will add it. I haven't added, I've added the resin, I've added a bunch of my, the molds, I've added some paints, and some different dotting tools like the DIY Mandala stones on Amazon. There's a bunch of different things that I've added. There's still more that I need to add in there, but we'll kind of go from there. Oh, yes, and it's Mother's Day tomorrow. That's right. Oh, and she has Instagram, though? Okay, good. Awesome. I didn't realize she had Instagram. We'll definitely have to do that. All right, so now let's take a far out view. Again, we've got 4 pieces that are all at the same part of the process, right? The nice part about this too is that if you are painting, if you wanted to paint them all the same, but if you don't remember what tools you use, then you could end up with a lot of differences. This can help create a lot of consistency across your designs too. Yeah, I might have to. That's what I'm kind of thinking too, Barb. I might have to have the 2 accounts. So I'm going to have to look and see how I can, because I'm sure that there's other people that do that, right? So I'll just have to figure that out. But it's on the list to do some research for. I have a busy few days coming up. So it's going to be fairly quiet on my end. I'm going to do my absolute best to get some content out there for you guys for the next couple of days. But it's going to be a little bit batty as far as life busyness is concerned for me for the next couple of days. So, but I'm going to add it onto the list because I think it would be incredibly valuable. All right, so now we're going in with color number 3, and we're going to do, again, the same thing for color number 3 throughout all 4 pieces, okay? Once we kind of get the base in there, we'll kind of talk about ways that you can modify the design slightly if you want to, but there's something incredibly gratifying about creating multiple pieces and having them all work out the same. You know, one of the things that I love about mandalas is the symmetry aspect of it, right? When I was growing up, you know, the kids that were considered artists were always the ones that could do the realism drawings or just create something out of their mind. And I was never that person. I liked to do more of the crafty stuff, you know, and I always liked the geometric stuff. And growing up, I was told that that wasn't really something to work on, that it was derivative, that it was not as advanced, I guess you could say, which I think is absolutely hilarious because, well, you know. Anyways, so one of the things that I love about this art form is the symmetry. I find it incredibly fascinating and very, very satisfying. Whether it's drawing or painting these mandalas, that's where the meditative effect comes in, right? And that's what I like too about doing multiple pieces, because you can really kind of get into the flow of it a little bit. You can really just kind of go on automatic and really kind of sink into the meditative side of things, focusing on your breath, quieting your mind, enjoying the repetitive part of the process, seeing what new ideas come to you throughout the whole process, right? And then at the end, when you've spent all this time painting something and you have not just one piece, but you've got 4 or 5 pieces or even more, it's very, very gratifying. You could do these 4 as one solid piece with the center dot in the middle. You totally could. And this process would come in very handy for that as well, right? Because then you are creating those multiple pieces. And I think that would be super, super cool. We'll have to do that one of these days. We'll have to do that where the center dot would go here and then pull the pieces out. I think that would be super, super cool. I always thought about doing that like for tiles and stuff to do my own backsplash when I get my tiny house. I think that would be super cool. Even doing these and just putting up a bunch of wood panels would work, right? Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you for linking that. All right, so here we go. So again, it can feel like it's slow. It's a slower process and a little bit more monotonous, but once you get going and you see that you've spent all of this time and you're going to end up with multiple pieces at the end of it, and especially if you're looking from a business point of view, right? This allows you to be a little bit more efficient and still create lots of things of beauty, but not have some of the pressure of creating something unique on each piece and not having to kind of pull some designs out of the air, right? So now I'm still getting some little notching and stuff on these dots because I didn't sand these blocks, these squares, but that's okay. They're still turning out all right. Yeah, the connected pieces would be super cool. You're going to have to live till you're 500 years old to get all your projects done. I'm totally okay with that. I love that. I love that idea. Maybe that's when I'll go. We'll just be painting and then I'll just stop talking and put my tool down and then I'll be gone someday. Well, that would be, I'm okay with that. I'm totally okay with that. If this is how I go, this is how I go. And if this is how I spend all my time, you know, it's why I'm so excited at the idea of getting this camper to have as my tiny home, right? Because the possibilities of what I can do, and I can stream more, and I can, you know, really have that a little bit more independence and freedom, not having to work around other people's schedules, is going to make a big difference, right? So, yeah, be prepared, because once that happens, once I get my camper, whoo, baby. hold on to your hats. I'm going to be live all the time. Your pups are going to sleep so good, Barb. You don't even have to be there. You just turn it on and let it run while you go and run groceries, and they'll stay nice and have a nice little nap while you're gone. But I would really like to do more workshops. I'd really like to do, eventually when in-person can come in again, I would love to do some more of that. Yeah, Granny Garbanzo. There's so many possibilities, right? Never mind the fact that when I get my camper, I'm going to paint the whole stinking thing. That's going to be my YouTube channel, is watch me paint my camper. I'm going to put mandalas, and maybe that's what I'll call it, right? Pardon the swearing for a second, but mandalas, I put that shit on everything. That can be my tagline for my YouTube channel. I think that would be fun. But see how I'm using the same tool, I'm using the same paints, we're going through the same design, but they're all going to look slightly different. So they're still going to be unique, right? So make sure you cut yourself some slack when it comes to that. You know, it doesn't have to be completely unique from anything else you've ever created. One of my favorite paintings that I did started as a magnet, then I started doing it on a large canvas, and then I did it on a small canvas, and then I that's one of the designs that's on my Redbubble store now. And it was very similar designs, slight modifications depending on the size of, oops, I totally skipped one there. Some slight modifications depending on the size of the surface I was painting on, but don't be afraid to reuse your old stuff. You do something that you loved, don't be afraid to do it again. Don't be afraid to reuse color combinations or repeat designs. Just repeating a design itself, there's so much value in that, right? Especially if you don't remember the size tools that you used, being able to practice and recreate. And trying to recreate it, comparing your tool size, going, I think that maybe I used a size 2 or maybe I used a size 3 or whatever the case is. It can be a very valuable exercise to go through to try and repeat something again. And plus, your skill level changes every single time you make something new, right? So being able to go back and say, look, I painted the same thing again, only this time was me a year later or 6 months later or whatever the timing is. And look at the difference. It's the exact same design, same paint, same colors, same surface, but look at how my design and my skill has changed since then. So it can be a really fun way to do it. That would actually be a really cool thing to do and say, this was on day 1, this was on day 30, this was on day like 6 months, this is on after a year, and just keep repainting it to see how it evolves. That would be a really interesting evolution to see, I think. All right, let me scroll back. It's on and cracking. Yeah, I'm really excited. I want to cover my camper with everything and then paint the whole inside of it too. Then you can use it as a tax write-off as well because you do your business in it. Yes, exactly. When I drive it down the road, it's my advertising, right? So many things, so many possibilities. And then if I use it to drive to different places and hold workshops, because that's the ultimate that I would like to do. I'd like to travel around North America in my camper and maybe teach workshops in different locations and do different art fairs and craft shows and stuff like that. I think it would be so much fun. And then when I'm at home base, then I can invite people to come and hang out with me and paint with me in my space, right? Tabitha, are we allowed to post our projects on your page? 100%. If you go to the Facebook, actually go to the Facebook group, that would probably be a better spot for you, Tabitha. Are you a member of the group? Because I think that would be a great spot to put it on, and put any projects you're working on. It doesn't even have to be dot mandalas, right? If you're working on something creative and you want to show it off, we want to cheer you on. For your camper, you're going to have to find... Yeah, totally. Well, I think what I'd like to do is there's a couple tutorials out there of how you can take flat square brushes and you can make perfectly round dots. There's a technique of how you spin the brush to make circles with it. So I'm thinking it might be that, or I'm going to use spray paint, because then I can make dots of different sizes with the spray paint can. And that sounds super freaking fun. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait. My RV is a cougar. We're redoing it to say Def Leppard. Nice. That's amazing. Yeah, broom handles would work out really well. You have trouble picking colors, Geraldine. Okay, so the first place I would suggest that you try for picking colors is keeping an eye on Pinterest. If you go to Pinterest and search color palettes, that is a phenomenal way, especially like, let's say you love teal. Teal's your favorite color. So go and search teal color palettes on Pinterest and you will get pages and pages and pages and pages of different color ideas that you can then match your paints to. I do that a lot for different color ideas. Sorry, I just wanted to take a sip there. Now, the other option is doing trial and error. If you have yourself a little test canvas, I'm going to just back this up a bit, having a test canvas around so that if you have a few colors, you can put little swatches next to each other, because sometimes we think colors are going to look good together, but then they don't, right? So if you kind of put them together like that to just see if they go together, that can help a lot too. And trial and error. There's so many times where I've created something and I've really disliked it at the end. But then sometimes even just changing the orders of the colors can make a difference. But have to give that a try. Yeah, dot stencils would be a really good idea. Yeah, large wine bottles would work. That would be cool. I know people's heads would explode because the ladybugs hibernate in there. I know, right? It would be hilarious. Round pieces of glass for polka dots. Oh, that's a really good idea, Catherine. Yes. Yep, so large glasses, even just to get the outline and then filling it in with paint. So many cool ideas. Yeah, Googling color palettes will work as well too. But they don't tell you the name of the matching color, which makes it hard. And that's really the hard part, is how do you find out the names of these colors? But if you want the idea for, let's try and put some colors together, that can really help. Maybe that's something that when I do my workshops and stuff, and if I do these paint parties, maybe that's something that I do too, is have a list of these are the paints that I'm going to be using and this is the color palette that I'm going to be using, to see if that makes any difference and helps at all. All right, I'm just going to change my green because this one is getting a little bit gummy. So I'm just going to find my palette and I'm just going to pick some of this paint out of here. This is so satisfying too. I know Christina Lee does this on her TikTok as some ASMR when she's cleaning out her palettes. All right, so now I'm going to put some green in. There we go. So now we got the green. And again, we've got now 4 pieces that all, whoops. Sorry, I rotated my phone. Now we've got 4 pieces that are all at the same spot in the design. Okay. The hex numbers. Oh, that's interesting. Don't send people to Pinterest during your live. They'll be gone for days. That's a really good point. So after the live, have a look at Pinterest. But for now, just stay here. We're top dotting to erase the underlying colors. Yes. And top dotting can be really difficult too, because like you said, you want to make the top dots small enough so that the color underneath shines through, right? So the size of your top dots is going to make a difference, and the placement as well. One thing that I've seen that's really, really cool is instead of on the petals, instead of placing the top dot here in the middle, placing it down so that it lines up with the bottom. It can be a very interesting way to kind of change it up a little bit. All right, so let's start with some petals. So this is where it's going to start to feel like it speeds up a little bit. Okay. That's my go-to, called 3D layering, right? Just paint all over it again. Your 8-year-old loves picking the paint out of the cups, right? It's totally satisfying. If you're a picker, especially when you get into the multi-surface paints or the metallics, because they just peel right off like peeling a sunburn. So gross and so amazing all at the same time. Like this one's a black metallic. Oh, So satisfying. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. Just fantastic. Anyways, all right, here we go. What color is the fuchsia pink in the stone you just showed? Oh, that's a really good question. This is a metallic, Christy. This is Deco Art. Oh, that was big. Sorry, I forgot I was zoomed in. Deco Art Metallic Craft Paints in Berry. I will take a look, because if anybody else wants one of these, when I am able to get up to the craft store that I used to buy all of my mugs and stuff at, they sell these bottles for $2 a bottle at that store. And if they have this color, I'll pick up a bunch if anybody wants it, because isn't it gorgeous? It's so delicious. Yeah, it's really, really nice. Awesome, you guys. All right, fantastic. All right, let's keep going now. So when we get to this point where I'm going to do some petals, I'm going to go in with a size 6. You don't have that one yet? Yep, I can totally do that, Geraldine. No problem at all. I'll keep you posted, because we're in full lockdown still here in Ontario, so we can't get into those craft aisles until the end of May at least. But when I do, I'm so excited to get back up to that dollar store. So, yes, extreme. That's a really, really good point. Thank you, Barb, because make sure it says metallic or pearl. If you get into the glitter paints, the paints themselves aren't usually opaque, right? So then you're going to just get a lot of transparent paints with some chunks of glitter, and it's not going to shape nicely either, right? Going back over something with some glitter paint with a slightly smaller tool, that can work, or with a brush if you want to add in some bling on there. But the pearls and the metallics are kind of where it's at. Yeah, $2 for metallics is really, really good. And they carry the Deco Art at that particular store. So we'll go stocking up. We'll get you down for a visit one of these days, Christy, and we'll go shopping. All right, so I'm going in with a size 6. And I am doing my poles again. Starting with my North Pole, flip it around, North Pole again. Now, going to East. Now, one thing that's something that I'm starting to explore a little bit is not having to go into the spaces created by the rows beneath, right? So right now I'm putting this into this space from the row before, from the yellow row. But there are a lot of artists out there that don't do that, that just start dotting, right? So if this didn't work out to be the center, they would still put this green dot there, even though it's not matching up with a space in the row before, okay? So I find it easiest to be able to use from the row before, but I'm starting to kind of branch out and try it a little bit when I can. Especially when you see some of these mandala artists that do these incredible pieces that are all just big circles of dots. Christine Aine, A-I-N-E, I think is her last name. She does some of the most beautiful stuff I've ever seen. I drool over it and I fangirl every time she comments on any of my posts. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's my friend now. This is so exciting. But anyways, she does these pieces about this size. Number one, her color combinations are spectacular. Geraldine, you want to get ideas for colors just for looking at them? Again, you wouldn't get the color numbers or anything like that. Christine A-I-N-E is her last name. So I think her Instagram is Christine.Aine maybe. I'll try and find it. And I'll share it on the Facebook group. So now I'm just going to swap out, keep on going with the green. This can help sometimes too with the drying outs of paints. But she is just phenomenal. And what she does though, is she creates row after row after row, and she changes the size of her dots a lot. So imagine after doing the yellow row, I went back to something smaller, or maybe I do a whole row of green all the way around, and then I want to go back to something small again. So she does it all without any guidelines, which I haven't figured out yet how to do. But she creates these beautiful pieces, and the dots do not go with the spaces. She just does rows of dots and layers of rows of dots. So it's kind of fascinating to watch because there is definitely some massive spacing practice there of how to line things up. Molly has done a couple of those as well. Mall Rocks, if you guys aren't following Mall Rocks on Instagram, she's done a couple of them as well too, where she creates these circles without using these guidelines to create these kind of borders around. They're just phenomenal. So I'm going to practice that some more too and see what I can learn as far as that stuff is considered. Let's see, what did I miss here? Yeah, we totally do. Wouldn't that be fun, Christy? Shopping spree. It is a bright one, isn't it? It's actually an apple barrel. So I don't normally use apple barrel. It's called parakeet. I don't normally use a lot of apple barrel because it's typically fairly watery, but I've started using it on a lot of smaller pieces. It is a little bit watery for this one, but it's working out okay so far. But it is pretty and bright. I love it. Apple barrel has some really, really pretty colors, you guys. It's really hard not to buy apple barrel sometimes because some of the colors are absolutely gorgeous. So just understand the trade-off, right? The trade-off with apple barrel is that you're probably going to get some wateriness. Now, on my pendants and stuff, that's not a big deal because it's nice and small. I don't use a ton of green, all of that sort of stuff, right? But it depends on a bigger piece. I probably wouldn't. Apple barrel is great for background colors too. Like buying apple barrel black paint to do your backgrounds. That'd be super, super good. I know the hair that was sitting there. It's okay, Elizabeth. It's everywhere here. It's absolutely everywhere here. We have way too many animals. Way too many. So for those of you who don't know, I live on a farm with friends of mine, and they have 2 cats and 2 dogs. I have my cat, and then they also have 5 horses and 5 donkeys. Our original plan was to start an animal sanctuary, but things have changed since then, and that's okay. So for now, it's going to be just living on a wonderful farm and living life. So that's why I think I'd like to start the nonprofit that I was mentioning. I think that would be really fun. Really, really fun. No idea how I'm going to put it together yet. And that's okay. I don't need to know yet. I'll figure it out when the time is right. But it's pretty heavenly when you can just walk outside and go get some hugs from some donkeys. It's pretty amazing. Use apple barrel to make your own alcohol inks. Ooh, what is that, Barb? Why are you not teaching tutorials? Was it on my thumb? Is it gone now? Okay, hopefully it's gone. No, I would love to have more. You often blow or brush on the phone thinking it's on your head. Yeah, I get it. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's amazing. All right, here we go. Last section of the green. So are you guys feeling it though? Are you feeling the benefit of being able to create multiple things all at once and really kind of power through some things? Like I said, if you're doing gifts for people, if you're wanting to create sets of anything, this is a great way to be able to kind of mass produce a little bit. Like I said, this is going to be my process for Christmas ornaments this year. Like most things, I'm not going to be doing custom orders anymore. It's going to be, you know, just this is what I've painted, and if you like it, you can have it kind of thing. I'll probably still do some custom orders, but it's just not going to be a prominent thing out there. So if you are in the process of looking at maybe making this into a career or a business of some sort, even if it's just like a side thing, just keep in mind that you want to make your life as easy as possible. Custom orders can be really, really fun, but at the same time, they can also really, really slow you down too, right? I'm too busy sending people TikToks. Well, and it's definitely a valuable time spent, Barb. I love getting the TikToks from you. You always send such good ones. All right, so now we're going to change and go to a different design. I'm going to get my teal out, and I'm going to use my small nail dotting stylus tool, and I will end up using my micro dotter as well. I'm too bossy. I throw lots of flip-flops. Why are you not teaching? Was that for me, Catherine? Lord. You guys are awesome. Okay. All right, so here we go. So this is an interesting example because I'm not going to be using this tool to walk the dots. I want to use my micro dotter to walk the dots. So what I'm going to do on this one is I'm going to go through and put these top, the peak dots. I call them peak dots because they're going to be the peak of the flower petal. I'm going to put all of these on first on all 4 pieces, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to walk the dots on all 4 pieces. So if you ever do decide to do something like this as a business, be kind to yourself. Make sure that you are doing a nice mix of what makes you feel good. And remember that you can change your mind at any time, right? Like I started off doing a lot of custom orders and I had to learn what was going to work for me and what wasn't. And always remember that just because it works for somebody else doesn't mean it's going to work for you. And you can do this any way you want to. Right? Oops, that one's not round at all. Let's see, there we go. All right, so lots of moving around, but as you can see too, that's starting to dry as we move forward, right? Can't believe it's Crappy Barrel. That's amazing. It does. It looks good, eh? And I think that's really the key. It's really about the size of your piece and the size of dots you're going to be using. You know, doing the tiny ones, the pops of color can be really, really good. I do love the micro dotter. I love it. I absolutely love it. Yeah, it was a game changer for me. It was a total game changer. I have that linked on my Amazon though. I found that. I think I did. But it's one of my favorites, especially when I'm doing the small pendants, right? I really need to get to the point where I am doing some larger pieces because I've really lost a lot of my practice from using some of the larger tools because I've been doing the small ones for so long. Next week, we're going to do half petals for our tutorial and show the effect of that. I will show you kind of in a little bit here what the kind of concept for that is. It's a design that I know Jan really loves, so we're going to do that next week. And then the week after is going to be part 1 of doing a larger canvas. Now, I'm going to be doing a 20-inch square canvas, and we're going to talk about prep. We're going to talk about doing the guidelines on a larger piece like that. We're going to talk about how to build your design and how to change your elements of it. And we're going to hopefully get to the end and do finishing. Okay, like how to seal it. How do you have to seal it depending on what you're going to use it for? I think it's going to be a 3-parter. I think it's going to, run over a few weeks. But if you have an interest in doing a large piece, then that can be it could be a really good tutorial for you. So imagine, I will just do it on this one to show you the half petal thing. So imagine that we only do this half of the petal design. Right? So, and then imagine that the next row we put on, I'm going to, like if I was doing the dark blue next, I would still put my blue dot right up here, and then I would still only do just that 1/2 and just build up the half. right? It can create a really cool effect. So that's going to be next week of what we're going to do next week. Now, when I first started doing dot mandalas, that's how I would build my petals. I would do the one side first, and then I would go back in and I would do the other side, kind of like what I'm going to do now. And the reason that I did that was I found that the muscle memory from one side to the other was very different. So instead of having to switch back and forth and activate that muscle memory and have it constantly changing, I found it much easier to just say, okay, I'm going to do 10 of them all with the same muscle memory, all with the same ones. And then I'll go back in and switch my muscle memory. So you can do that with these as well. Like, why don't we do that with this? I'm just going to do that one side for all 4 of them. And then we'll come back in and do the other side. But I did that a lot when I first started. And it's something that I think I'm probably going to go back to because I've been noticing some issues with some of the symmetry in some of my pieces that is bugging me a little bit. So sometimes just going back to the basics can be a really good way to re-practice and redevelop some skills and really kind of hone some of these skills too. So don't be afraid. Don't ever feel like you're going backwards. There's no such thing. You can't revisit the same place from the same place you were at when you visited it the first time, right? You are always a new person since then, and you are going to have different skill that you are going to bring to that revisiting of that thing. Just like when I talk about doing the same design over and over again and seeing your progression, it's going to change over time. You might have come up with a new way to hold on to the tools that's more comfortable or that works for you. It's all about practice too. There is no going backwards, only continuing to learn and practice, even if it's something that you already feel that you know, right? Oh, it's raining. Holy cow. It is just pouring out there. I have them too. It was, I have them too. Do you? Good. I really do like the half petal technique. It looks really, really cool. It looks really neat. And especially when you get into the larger designs where you've got lots of little bits and really can kind of build it out like this really cool 3D design. It's really fun. So we're going to do that one next week and do a full project on it. When I get into these, like the walking dots, when it's the smaller dots, that's when I really notice the wood grain impacting the shape of my dots. So if you can, always try to do some sanding if you can. Oops. And I mean, it's certainly not a big deal if you don't. Deep thoughts with Jamie, right? Yeah, we go pretty deep sometimes. We go where nobody else has gone before. Gorgeous Mwasaga. Oh, that's so good, Elizabeth. I'm so glad. It started off as a beautiful sunny day, but it's pouring now. I didn't know it rained cows in Canada here. Yeah, we like to rain cows. Hello, Belbeer. How are you? It's so good to see you. How have you been? All right, here we go. So again, if you want to develop that muscle memory, kind of doing that same repetitive motion over and over and over again can be really, really helpful. So creating the multiple pieces, doing just this one side of the technique can be really helpful. Oops. Yeah, there's the wood grain. It can be really helpful in helping to develop that muscle memory and create that kind of automatic part of the process. Oh, thank you. And I'm doing good. Thank you, Belbeer. You're doing better now? Good. I'm so glad to hear that. Are you heading out, Catherine? It was good to see you. Thanks for coming and hanging out. I hope this was helpful for you. we'll look forward to seeing you again soon. And please, if you have to deke out, make sure that you're sharing your stuff on the Facebook group. Anything that you're creating, we'd love to see it. Now, we're not going to get this finished today, but I hope it gives you a good idea. We still have another half hour, but I hope it gives you a good idea of how you can start to kind of mass produce things like this. So there we go. We've got 4 that are already at the same spot. Hello, Christina. How are you? It's so good to see you. Christina Lee's here. Hello. It's good to see you. If you guys are not following Christina, I'm pretty sure all of you are, but if you are not, you should be. You are missing out. All right. We're talking today, Christina, about mass producing and how we can kind of use a bit of an assembly line to create a whole bunch of different pieces with the same design. I love doing the rainbows. I don't think I'm ever going to get tired of it. Look at all the love. I love it. I love doing these rainbows. They just make me so freaking happy. If you want to, Geraldine, Christina, if you are not already following Christina, she would be a really good person to learn from as far as color theory is concerned. She covers a lot of that. A lot of that, and she can give you a lot of good advice for picking colors and learning color theory and everything. Oh, I've got something built up on my tool here. Must have had something chunky in there. All right. So I'm working on this muscle memory, right, for doing the right side of the petals. So I don't have to switch my orientation with each and every petal. I can just do it all at once. Yes, these are coasters. I took a color theory class with Christina on her Patreon, and I learned it. There you go. Fantastic. So yeah, that might be a really good option for anybody who is looking to kind of learn more about color. So check out her Patreon and check out her classes. Yeah, I'm thinking when I'm done these, I might, add resin to the top and make them into some coasters. I have a serious resin addiction now. The thing I like about these blocks, so I got these blocks on Amazon, and I want to say I got 50 of them for about $12. And they're freaking fantastic. They're nice and thin. They're flat. They haven't warped. They warped a little bit, maybe a little bit, but not like I've seen some of them that are out there. And you could really do so many things. Like we were talking about, you could put 4 of them together and create one large piece. You could create 20 of them, put 20 of them together and put them all in a frame and make one large piece. There's so many possibilities when you have all of this stuff, right? There are no limits and there are no rules. If you ever look at something and go, I wonder if I could paint that, the answer is yes. And if you ever write to me and say, sorry, and if you ever write to me and say, hey, do you think I could paint on this? 9 times out of 10, I'm going to say, yeah, do it. Do it. I haven't done a resin class, Christina. No, I really, I did a little bit of a tutorial on it last week. I still feel like I'm still learning so much, and I'd like to try some different types of resin. Right now, I need to only use stuff that I can use inside without a lot of ventilation, but Yeah, I want to try some different ones. I know there was a suggestion last week of a different kind of resin, like crystal coat or something like that it was called, that might be a little bit better, especially for the pendants and everything. There's so many different options out there. Yes, paper towel cost savings. Yes, because I wipe. And honestly, the other thing that I do too is I have a ton of old dishcloths and I keep them in a container. This little container here where my ring light is attached, that has all of my rags and cloths that I will just wet and use those all of the time. Resin scared the crap out of me too, Christina. It really did. It's nowhere near as scary. Jan helped me relax an awful lot. Jan, who's on this live, our buddy, and she helped me out a lot to get over some of those fears, and to just try it, just do it. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. I will try and put together another class on that, but last week's class I did go into like how I mix it with the stuff that I do know how to use, but I still feel like I'm so green. I don't know if I know enough to really teach a good in-depth class. Elizabeth, a link for, what are you looking for? A link for Christina's Patreon for her color theory? Or are you talking for the wood blocks? Let me know. I don't have them right now, but I can get one and I can add it to my Amazon link. I can look that up after we're done here today, if you like. The boards. Okay, I will look that up and I will add it, and I will put a post up once I've added it to my list. So keep an eye on that for later today. I will actually I'll try and remember to message you and let you know that I've got it done, okay? But I can definitely add that. It's one of those things that I've had these forever. I think I've had them, oh gosh, I had them before I moved, so since last summer sometime, and I've never used them. But the resin sounds interesting to me to do this, because then at least it'll be a heat safe and a very level surface, right? Yeah, that's true, right? You can't help people from the top of the staircase. You got to be closer to them on the staircase to be able to reach their hand and help them, right? I will totally do it. I've been stalking Christina for ages. I found you through Christina. Oh, that's amazing. That's awesome. All right, so let's do another row of, do we want to do another row of petals? I'm thinking. Yes, we want to do another row of petals. So I'm going to grab my blue. This is the Peacock Blue, from my dollar store paints. It's Deco Art, Crafters Acrylic, Peacock Blue. It's my favorite color of all of my paints. All right, let's see here. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing like I did in the last one. I'm going to go through and I'm going to do these peak dots all first on all four. And then we'll come back and walk the dots after. I love this assembly line process for this, to just be able to whip through a bunch of projects all at once. There we go. Let's see. Everyone knows I'm jealous of Jamie because she's... Have you still not gotten your stuff, Christina? Are you serious? And Shauna's just kind of dropped off the face of the earth. Shauna's the kind of person that we've been trying to contact for that. I can't believe you still haven't gotten your stuff, Christina. That's terrible. When you do your resin tutorial, include how you make the resin pendants and coasters, please. I absolutely will. 100%. When I do the resin tutorial, I will make sure that I've got a bunch of different things so we can mix some nice large batches of resin and do a bunch of different stuff. The hard part with resin is having a spot where you can let it sit for 24 hours, right? And making sure you've got that space where you can have it sit and have it covered for 24 hours. All right, one more. And here we go. So keep this process in mind, you guys, when it comes to if you're going to make any gifts for people, if you're going to create sets of anything, this assembly line process will make your life easier. Even just for remembering the tools. I'm not the person who is going to write down the size tools that I use. You know, I'm just not that person, because half the time I just go and I tried doing it once, and then I realized I missed a few rows and didn't write it down and just got so frustrated with the whole process. I'm like, nope, this isn't for me. What can we do? Every life she keeps mentioning you. Well, not every life. It's hard not to. I actually put my stuff to sit after being resined in my shower with the doors closed, because that's the only way. Oh, that's a really good idea, Jan. Really, really good idea. I love that. Now there's 3 hairs. Oh, yep, there they are. I love that. That should be a contest one of these days. Count the number of animal hairs in Jamie's live video. And win a prize. So again, with the muscle memory, I can just keep going with just this one side, right? Because it really is a lot about muscle memory. And especially when you start going on automatic and start doing the repetitive part of it, right? So anything you can do to help enhance that muscle memory and make your life a little easier and make your designs a little more satisfying to you, it can make a difference. Right? Adds to the creativity. There you go. It is distracting, though. I totally get it. There we go. Especially if you're in the beginning stages of learning this, give yourself the time to do a lot of practice and a lot of repetition. So these bulk projects can be a great way for you to really practice and figure out where you want to spend more time practicing, right? Like where do you want to spend more time? What do you want to get better at? What do you want to learn how to do differently, right? What else do you want to learn? It's all about practice and repetition. And it's a good reminder, again, just to remind yourself, you don't have to come up with something completely unique on every single design. Reuse your designs, reuse your color combos. You know, they do not have to be limited to just the one project. Take that pressure right off yourself. Sometimes you inadvertently create the same thing. I inadvertently go back to the exact same color combinations many, many, many times. My one large piece that I have, it's a 90 centimeter round canvas. I was painting something else at one point, and I just kind of look, I'm like, these colors look really familiar. Why? And then I looked up at my wall. I'm like, oh, It's because I've used them before. Yeah, wax on, wax off. Christine started my first practice. It's definitely not easy, but you will just keep practicing. It will get better. And don't hold yourself to perfection, right? There are lots of inaccuracies or imperfections in the things that I paint. I make mistakes all the time. I was making a new pendant yesterday, and I almost completely gave up on it because I tried 8 different times to get the dot centered, and I would get halfway through it and really see that it was so off center because it was just off center enough to notice it. Be patient with yourself and really give yourself time to practice. That's why it's so important that you enjoy this, right? Enjoyment makes the practice easier. And if you get to a point where you're frustrated and you're not enjoying yourself, you're much better to walk away for a little bit and come back after. Isn't the Peacock Blue gorgeous? Oh, I love it. It's probably one of my favorite things. Oops. There we go. So do you think that this is going to help you guys? Do you think this is going to help with you to create multiple pieces a little bit easier? And again, it's a great way to practice. Great way to practice. I find it really enjoyable to look at all the pieces after and say, yeah, they look all similar, but I can definitely see the differences, right? Your spacing is going to be a little bit different. The amount of paint on your tool is going to be a little bit different. So they're all still going to be unique in their own way, right? It's not a stamp or a stencil. You're still hand painting every little bit of it. So there is no choice for it to be unique. It's just going to happen, right? Oh, good. I'm glad you found it. Yay. The Peacock Blue is Deco Art. You get it at Dollarama. Deco Art Crafters Acrylic at Dollarama. 4 fluid ounces for $1.25. These are my favorite paints. I freaking love these paints. Will you come do a live? Christina, I would be absolutely honored. I would love to. That would be so fun. Yes, 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 yes. A million times yes. You just tell me when and I will happily. I would love to. You want to come and do one with here too? Would you do one here? Would you like do a color class or something maybe? Totally put you on the spot. I'm sorry. But that would be amazing. I would love to. Yay. Okay, perfect. Yay. Yay, I'm so excited. That's awesome. Woohoo. Oops. See, and those ones I made too small. So they're going to be a lot different. My 2 favorites, I'm so excited. Poor Elizabeth is just going to be vibrating until that happens. Oh, that'll be so much fun. Love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it. All right. So what other questions do you guys have that I can answer for you before we're done here? We've got about 15 minutes left. What else can I be helping you with? What projects are you guys working on that maybe you have questions about that we can help you with? And anybody who's on the recording, watching the recording, if you have any questions that I don't cover in this tutorial or the other ones that you've watched, please make sure you reach out to me, and I will do my absolute best to get you some answers. And you know what? It could end up resulting in a new topic for a new tutorial sometime. Christina's group is, is it Meditate? It's Christina Lee. If you look up Christina Lee, what's the name of your group, Christina? Christina Lee's Dot Meditation. Sharing enthusiasts. Christina Lee's Dot Meditation sharing enthusiasts. I will share her group to the Facebook group later today. I think I can do that anyway. So we'll see if I can. But you definitely want to be a part of that. How's Allie doing, Christina? Is she doing good? If a paint says all purpose, is that the same as all surface? I honestly am not sure. I would really say that you'd have to look at the details on the back of the bottles to tell you what surfaces it's designed for. And if your paint bottles themselves don't give you enough information, Google the paint company and stuff, because sometimes they'll have a more detailed product info sheet online than what you're going to see on the bottles. My multi-surface, that's okay. My multi-surface says right on the bottle. So for example, it says paint for glass, ceramics, wood, metal, rigid plastic, fabric, canvas, paper, terracotta, right? So it's really telling me, because I can use regular acrylics on wood and canvas and paper and everything, but it's really, when it says that you can use it on glass, ceramics, metal, rigid fabric, all of that stuff, that's what you really want to go. Now, I'm just noticing this says fabric on here, and now I need to try that because I've never tried it with fabric. So we'll definitely have to give that a shot. So I would say, Susan, you definitely want to check the backs of the bottles of your paint to see if it gives any detail on the surfaces that it's good for. And if it doesn't, then do some Googling or even reach out to the manufacturer, especially if you have a specific surface in mind that you want to be able to paint on. Okay? Yeah, I will totally share that. There you go. There's Christina's group. Thanks, Elizabeth. I'd love for you to paint a ceramic mug because, oh, we can totally do that. 100% we can do that. Happy to. Happy to do it. That's going to be so fun. Yep, I've got those down pat. So anything that I can share so that that can be helpful for people, I will 100% love to do that. We'll do one of those here as well at some point, you guys. We will do painting mugs and ceramic surfaces at some point too. You're welcome, Susan. Hi, Kim. How are you? Hello, hello. Kim is my old neighbor when I used to live in the condo in Bowmanville. And I love when she pops onto my life to say hello. I miss not getting to see her as often. Guess what, Kim? My dad's getting moved to Winfield on Monday. My dad is getting moved into a long-term care home on Monday, which means I'm going to get to see him again. Because since he's been in the hospital since November, he has only been allowed one visitor, and that has been my mom. So we're really, really excited that he's getting moved to a more homey place where he's going to get to have a TV and his own dresser and kind of get settled in a little bit. And I'm going to get to start seeing him again, which is wonderful because it's been a long time since I've been able to spend some time with my dad. I was able to go in once, but it was because we had a death in the family, so it's just not the same. It'll be so nice just to be able to relax and visit with him and enjoy his company again. So I'm super excited. Yeah, thank you. Thanks, guys. It's going to be good. It's going to be really good for all of us, I think. It's going to take some stress off of Mom and I, and it's going to be really good for him. So, all right, so here we go. So now we have 4 pieces that are all at the same progression in the set and in the design, right? They all are a little bit slightly different, but they're pretty much the same. right? But it's going to be able to create a nice set. And I think it's very satisfying that I know that I've got 4 pieces that are already at this progression, and then we can keep going. And I find that once you get out to the outside parts, it tends to progress a little bit faster. It's the little tiny detail in the middle that feels a little bit slow. And it looks kind of cool too. So this would be really cool. Like imagine if we were going to put all 4 of these together and then do another one right in the middle, and then we could have 5 of them here, right? That would be kind of cool too. So many options, so many cool options in there. So, what questions do you guys have? Is there any questions that I can answer for you at this particular point? And if there isn't, then keep your eyes peeled then for the live that I'm going to join with Christina. And then next week here, we're going to do the half petal design. We're going to do a larger design with more of the half petals, so you can really see how you can work those into a really cool design. And then the week after, we are going to start on a large canvas. If you don't want to work on a large canvas, that's totally okay. There will still be lots of information that we'll go over that will help you on any size project that you're working on. Okay, so you don't have to be doing a large canvas, but I'd like to go through how I go through the process of doing a large piece in case anybody out there is anxious to give one of those a try and do something a little bit bigger. Okay. I think you walked us well through this, Jamie. Thank you again. Oh, you're most welcome, Elizabeth. I'm so glad that it was helpful, you guys. This tutorial will be available on my website to purchase the recording by end of day on Monday. Jill, the canvas will be 20-inch square. Okay, so that's the size I'm going to be using. But anything that we go over, you'll be able to apply to any size surface that you're going to use. Even if it's just something larger than what you have ever done before, that can be really helpful. Yes, I will. I will put these, I will find these on Amazon, and I will link them to my Amazon link, and then I will let you know once that is done. I will do that this afternoon. And so that's one thing. Keep in mind that if you ever want access to all of my past tutorials, the entire library is available through my Patreon. The link for that is in my bio as well. And I still have a few pendants left on the website, and I'm working on creating a bunch of mugs to get them pre-painted and ready to go so that I can get them on the website next week too. I finished a couple of them, but I'm going to be doing a big release of mugs next weekend as well. So keep your eyes peeled for that, and I'll let you know when that is going. So if anybody has any questions, anything that I can help them out with, post it in the group or send me a message. I'm happy to share with you. I don't have all the answers by any means, but I will happily share what I do know and see if we can help you out. And otherwise, we'll look forward to seeing you. And we'll look forward to seeing you again next weekend. It'll be great. See, Jamie's work also has evidence of her feline family too. Yeah, it's everywhere, right? Look at all the hair everywhere. God, you just breathe and you add more hair to it. It's just everywhere. It's absolutely everywhere. But thank you guys for coming and hanging out today. I hope this was helpful for you. And yeah, I love you. I'm grateful for you, and thank you so much for coming and spending so much time with me, and for all of the love and support you guys give me. You guys are the reason why I get to do this full time, and I'm excited for everything that's to come in the future. We've got lots and lots more coming down the pipes. Thank you, Christy. It was good to see you, my love. Thank you, guys. Please take care of yourselves. Elizabeth, I will send you the link for these wood blocks. And you know what? Maybe I'll post it on the Facebook group, and I'll tag you. So then if anybody else is looking at these wood blocks as well, okay? Sending you guys lots and lots of love. Please, I hope that you are able to take some more time this weekend to do something just for the pure joy of it. Just take care of yourselves and be safe, okay? And we'll talk to you soon. Lots of love, you guys. Bye. Bye, Sharon. Bye, guys.